Eli Sanchez is our guest. So I found Eli by accident.
Most
Eli.
people do.
So Eli is the boyfriend of one of my students, and he happens to end up on the phone every once in a while. And every time I hear something, I think, "Holy crap, that's the most interesting guy in the world." He does so many different things. So then I start talking to Eli about coming on to do this seminar today. And so Eli works for Adaptive Technology Services, which is a vendor of adaptive technology services based in the San Francisco Bay Area. So my first
That's
question,
the name of it. That's the name of the one in San Francisco.
There you go. That is. So my first question to Eli is, so how did you get involved in adaptive tech? And the question, he starts to answer the question by saying, well, I was heading over to my sister's house to install a water heater, ... And I'm thinking, this sounds like the beginning of a joke. Three guys walk into a bar. And so, oh my God. So Eli has a background in installing water heaters, adaptive technology services, and you may have heard at the beginning, he has a keen interest in fishing. So we tie all of that together. So Eli is totally blind, right?
That's right.
Totally blind.
No light perception.
Nothing. Okay.
Nothing.
So, and how long has it been like that? How old were you when you lost your vision?
Don't make me think of that. It's been a long time.
Okay.
22 years.
Do you remember having sight?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, very slightly, but I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was it an overnight thing?
It was very progressive from about the age of 8 months old. And the last little shred of it pretty much went out by the time I was 4.
Holy cow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you were growing up, did you go through the regular school system?
I did the regular K through 12.
Okay. And did you learn Braille as a little kid?
By the age of 6, I had grade 2 down.
Wow. So do you read Braille books now?
I do. I can
for fun.
I can read grade 1, grade 2, music Braille, Nemeth Braille, and computer Braille.
Wow. So does that mean you're a musician too?
Unfortunately, yes.
So
whether I play good or not, I don't know, but I do it either way.
What do you play?
I play the guitar.
And just for fun, or do you play with others? Do you play in a group?
No, just for fun. If anyone's drunk enough to want to listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, just for fun. I used to play the trumpet. And that's where I learned to read music Braille. I've actually never read, well, up until this year, I've never read, they call it tablature for guitar. Up until this year, I embossed my own and I got to check it out. It's pretty cool. But for the trumpet, that's where I learned to read music Braille. So I used to play the trumpet in a band when I was in middle school. And I would play with my right hand. I would hold the trumpet and play with my right hand. And with my left hand, I would have my sheet music on just the regular sheet stand, but because I wanted it a little closer, I would put a book behind it, and there's my Braille. So I would read with my left hand and play with my right.
Who taught? Where did you learn music Braille? Was it Hadley? Was it a teacher?
It was, some of it was through Sonoma County Office of Education. My current TVI, teacher, the visually impaired at the time, she taught me the basics of it, but couldn't go much beyond that. So the rest of it was kind of self-taught.
And what about Nemeth? Now, Nemeth, for those who don't know, is Braille for math and more advanced math. So where did you learn that?
For that one, I actually picked up a Nemeth code book. I can't remember the exact name of it from American Printing House for the Blind. And I had to read through that during my summer before I got into Algebra 2 and calculus.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, growing up, you told me your dad was a general contractor,
That's right.
and he still is a general contractor, I think.
For a better part of 30 something years, he has been.
And you work with him sometimes?
Yeah. Yeah. That's got, I used to work with him a lot when I was in high school, from like 16 to about 20 years old. That was pretty much my main job while I was going to college.
And what kinds of stuff did you do?
Everything from digging trenches to lay plumbing to actually doing the plumbing. I would much rather just do the plumbing instead of digging the trench, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to do them both.
Yeah.
Pulling wire, demo, some framing, concrete, a little bit of everything, honestly. But if you ask me to do something, the only things I would say I'm decent at are running wire. I'm decent at running wire. Just don't ask me to match the colors. We're out of luck on that one. And plumbing. I get plumbing. It actually makes sense to me, but I can do some framing, and some sheetrock work. But my dad and my brother-in-law, there's people that can just look into an empty space and already put together first, second, third, fourth, and last, and put together a house for you. That's not me. I just do what I'm told. I can repair the stuff. I'm not building it from the ground up.
Right.
Yeah.
And then from that, you somehow went into assistive technology.
Funny thing about the tech, really funny thing is, here so I'm in Sonoma County, for those of you that don't know. Sonoma County is a little south of Bodega Bay, which is really rural, right? So Casadero, the Russian River, everybody's heard of, all that stuff. That's all part of Sonoma County. And then we're, what is that, east of Napa County. So, this is, growing up, we didn't have that many services out here. I don't know if anybody has heard of the Earl Baum Center for the blind here in Santa Rosa, California. But that place opened up in 1999. But up until then, there was really nothing around here. There was these little pop-up things of Santa Rosa Coalition for the Blind in the 70s and early 80s. And before that, I think it was Northern California Group for the Blind, I think it was, in the 60s and late 50s. But there really wasn't much in the way of assistance out here, right? We had TVIs. There's like 4 TVIs that cover everything from Sonoma County all the way to Casadero, and then back over into San Rafael and Fairfield. That whole region was pretty much handled by 4 TVIs in the early 2000s, late 90s. So as a result, me being one of the only blind students in the regular K through 12 system, there wasn't all that much support for things like, at the time, the Braille Note Empower or JAWS. I remember JAWS 3.0 that I installed when I was like 5 years old. Actually, no, I was like 7, I think, or so. I was a little older than 5, but things like that, CCTVs and whatnot, there just wasn't much support, right? The TVIs did the best that they could, reading manuals, but other than that, there wasn't much. And so I needed to get stuff done in school, so I would just go home, and I've always had some sleeping problems. So instead of just laying there trying to go to sleep at 2 a.m., let's just read us a manual, right? So I would get the Braille manual and I'd go through it and I'd tear everything apart and I'd figure it out somehow. Maybe not all the way, but enough.
Yeah.
So when students in Napa and Fairfield and San Rafael, needed help and their TVIs couldn't figure it out, they'd ask my TVI, and she'd give it a shot. Usually her name was Terry Wedler. Really, really great lady. And they'd take it as far as they could. But I remember, being 8, 9, 10 years old, and 4th and 5th, and even in the middle school and high school, all that time, I mean, there's at least 3 times a semester, they'd pull me out of school for a while, and I'd go work with the student for a little bit and show them what they needed to do, either on a iPad or a CCTV or Braille Notes, at the time Apex or the Empowers, JAWS, what have you. And that always just was, it was always a constant thing. But I never thought I'd go into the work. Never thought I'd ever go into the work at all. I wasn't really interested in it, right? I was building stuff. That's what I wanted to do. Then also I wanted to go into marine biology, but now we're just digressing,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how I got into this field was I mean, I've always kind of been into it. Even when I got out of high school and I got into the JC here in Santa Rosa Junior College, they have their own support system in there, which is the assistive technology. I forget the actual acronym for it, but they handle things like Jaws and Dragon Speak and whatever else have you. But they only know so much, right?
Right.
And when students go in there and they ask for assistance with their Braille Note Apex at the time, people look at it and they don't know what to do. They, if you can't produce it on the Apex, go up with Dragon Speak and volunteers. And that to me just wasn't right, because there's some things that you just cannot, like proofreading an essay. That's something you just can't do with Dragon Speak without having to ask, you know what, how about you screen for me real quick and see what's wrong? Like, I've done it, but it's just not practical, because then you just don't really grasp how to edit. So what do you do on a day that you don't have a volunteer, when they're all busy and you have Dragon Speak, but then when you do it and you can't edit, right? So even when I was in the JC, when I was over there for my semesters, I was volunteering my time with people with the Braille Note Apex, and they had their Victor Reader streams when they came out, and some Jaws and whatever else. And what really got my attention about being in the field was one day we had there was like a little meeting that the DRD, Disability Resource Department, set up. And it was supposed to be everybody that was deaf and blind and low vision. And they got everybody together in a classroom and went over some stuff, and people were in there looking to learn some of the tech. But it turns out it wasn't much of a tech learning event as much as it was a resource. And so just learning what different resources are out there. And I had one guy in front of me that he was deafblind and had a translator, and he just seemed kind of upset. And just by chance, I don't remember exactly how we started, but I struck up a little bit of a conversation, and I asked him, like, what's, is there something wrong with, that you guys need help finding or something? And he said, no, he wants to, he was hoping to come here and get his phone to tie his iPhone into his Apex so that he can read the directions instead of, as it is, he can't hear the directions that Siri's calling him out to him. And I'm like, oh, that's easy. Let me see his phone, let him know we need his phone and his Apex. I'll set him up. And I did it. And plotted the route from there. He wanted to walk there. He said he's always wanted to walk there. So I plotted the route and everything that Siri was saying, the Braille display. And he was able to hang it over his shoulder and reach his hand down with the cane in right hand, and he would read with his left. And he would read the Braille display, and he had his phone in his pocket. So everything Siri was saying to turn left here, turn left there, he could read it on there. And oh my God, man, he was over the roof. He was all about it. Right. And he gave me this huge hug and just was crying and kept asking the translator to keep thanking me. And I'm like, oh, that's, this might be fun to get into.
And then you never looked back after that.
I ended up just volunteering my time years after that. My buddy goes, I was a mechanic at the time, and he goes, well, why don't you, instead of volunteering, you've been volunteering this long, why don't you just get a job in it? Like, maybe. He goes, look, the certification program starts up in 2 months. I said, well, let me see how much money I can save up from working here, and then if it because I didn't want to do any student loans. I said, if I have enough money for the whole cost of the program in cash, I'll do it. And 2 days before the deadline, I think it was 2 days, I can't remember now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure 2 days. I did a last minute vehicle, and I got another $100, which was completing the payment I needed. So I paid in cash for the course, and and I did the course, and luckily I was fortunate enough to get hired on right away.
Wow. So how long have you worked for Adaptive Tech Services?
I've worked as a full-time employee for Adaptive Tech since May of this year. As a contractor, I've been 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Before that, I was actually working contracts for ATS, and I was working as a full-time employee for the Bomb Center.
Okay. And was that doing assistive technology too, or what did you do there?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Earl Baum Center is a smaller nonprofit, right? So everybody that works there has to wear different hats. So I did everything from I put in concrete, rebuilt a little house there, assistive tech. I did ILS, independent living skills. I did a Braille class. I was the ambassador for the place. Tech support. We do it all there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have two other things that I wanted you to talk a little bit about, because one is the fishing thing, because I know that there's at least one person on this phone call who's really interested in fishing. Can you talk a little bit about the fishing? You do ocean fishing?
I do all kinds of fishing, everything from a puddle all the way ocean.
Okay. All right. And is there anything unique about fishing blind as compared to fishing sighted?
I used to think that as blind fishermen, you're going to lose a lot more lures from just casting in the trees and missing your mark, a lot more than the average person. But as I get older, I find that's not the truth. So, the only thing really different is if you're driving the boat, take it slow because there might be more boats in front of you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But what about otherwise in the ocean? You're not driving the boat, but at least I'm assuming you're not driving the boat. As somebody who's a bit of a novice when it comes to fishing, when you've got something on the other end, is there anything unique about bringing them in?
Not necessarily. It really isn't, because fishing is a tactile experience as much as, people don't realize it with vision, because they can look at the line, they can look at the water, look at the fish. But any fisherman that's been at this for a time, before they even see the fish, what kind of fish it is by the way it's pulling at your line, right? So you hook into a halibut, they pull straight down there, and they kind of they pull straight down, and they kind of just pull for the floor. They want to stay on the floor. Whereas if you hook into a striped bass, which lives in the same habitat as the halibut, they shake their head and they roll and they tug and they jump. All right. So way different profile of what you feel going on in your hands. And anybody that's been at this for a long time can kind of use that before they can even see what's coming up.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I know there's going to be some questions on that issue. Before we open it up yet, though, I also wanted to ask you, tech gadgets. Do you have favorite tech gadgets of the late, whether it's old-fashioned ones they don't make anymore, or the latest and greatest? What are your favorites? High tech. It can be high tech, low tech, whatever.
High tech and low tech. My favorites. By far, my favorite thing that I cannot go without is a pocket knife. You're 100% a pocket knife. No matter what size you got, just have it. Because when you're in a crowd of people, right, at an event or something, and you set down your water bottle on the table, you're mingling with people, you come back, you're looking for the water bottle. Some people make a mark on it, or they know where you put it, right? But you have other blind individuals, you just put the water bottles wherever. But you can tell what kind of water bottle you have, because I'll take mine and just mark it. I'll put 2 slashes across the cap with my knife real quick, and I just got to feel the cap, and I know which one's mine. Or also, if you live in a household where you all share a bathroom and you have different toothbrushes in there, well, I'll just take my pocket knife real quick and put 4 slashes on each side of the toothbrush, and I know which one's mine.
Yeah, but not everybody else is paying attention to that.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But I hope
That's
that
the
they can
whole
see that
idea.
they're I hope that the other people in the house have some vision where they can see everybody buys different color toothbrushes, right? Mine's a
That's
green
true.
one, mine's a blue one. Which one's yours?
Yeah.
I have no freaking clue. Let me see.
And what if you cut? And what if you cut somebody else's toothbrush?
That becomes mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now moving up the technology ladder. What else are your favorites?
The next one that's my favorite is going to be definitely the iPhone.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason I say iPhone is because if you're on a budget, right, but you want you need an iPhone, right? It can help you count your money and OCR stuff and whatnot. If you're on a budget, you can go on to eBay and pick yourself up a overstock or a refurbish or something like that iPhone 8 at the moment for like $100, right? And it can do almost everything that the iPhone 13 Pro Max that goes for $2,200 can do, except for the LiDAR and all the cameras and stuff. But none of that's really necessary when you get down to the bare bones. You can still use it with seeing AI. You can still use it with KNFB reader, all that stuff. You still have full voiceover access for stuff. You still have the screen recognition, Siri, dictation, all that stuff. You still have all of that, and which is like 90% of the phone. The rest of the stuff, it's cool. Yes, it's cool, but it's not necessary. Yep. And that's the beauty of the way Apple puts their stuff together. Whereas, you can get a cheaper Android, right? You can get like a Samsung A11 for $200 with some TalkBack, but you are missing a lot of parts of Android and TalkBack that can't be installed on that phone because of its processing limitations. So you don't have all the same things that the person next to you with the Galaxy S21 has, which is, to me, it's not fair to me because you're prioritizing accessibility to luxury.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite app?
Favorite app? CNAI.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not perfect by any means, but it's free and it has a lot of functionality. And you can make a lot of Siri shortcuts. For me, because I have no light perception, and this whole house is wired up with 3-way switches and electricity expensive, I made a shortcut where I asked Siri, "Are my lights on?" It loads up CNAI and switches directly to the light detection mode.
Huh.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know how 3-way switches work in a house, you can have 2 or 3 switches control one single light. So like you can turn on your hallway light in your living room, walk to your bedroom, and then you can, switch the other switch next to your bedroom off so that, you were lit up as you walk to your bedroom, and now you're in your bedroom, you turn off the hallway light. But what makes that confusing is that if your switch in the living room is in the down position and the switch in the hallway is in the up position, you don't know which position is actually off because it actually has to reciprocate reciprocate the other switch. So, or, it has to be opposite of the other. So if one's down, the other one has to be up. So you don't ever know, if you don't have no light perception, you don't know if down is actually off.
My son drives me crazy with that all the time.
And do you have a Siri shortcut, Brandy?
You know what? He has inspired me because I usually just go grab my Colorino and I point it and I'm like, turn off the light. But that's brilliant. And I'm going to create that shortcut today.
Yeah, there we go.
And then you're going to teach all your students how to do it. Yep. Yeah. Okay. And if we were to go higher up in the hierarchy of technology.
Up in the hierarchy.
Yeah.
This stuff right here is what's the next best one? I am going to say oh man, what am I gonna pick? I would definitely, if you have money to splurge and mess around with, I mean, at the moment, those Envision glasses are looking pretty cool. I mean, they don't look the best, but they're pretty functional for what they do. They have I don't know if anybody here has worked with the Orcam or and the Vision glasses side by side, but Orcam definitely has some of the best OCR I've ever come across. And the Envision glasses are definitely looking like they could come in at a close second, which is really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any tips and tricks? Something related to JAWS? Is what I was thinking.
Related to JAWS. Tips and tricks. The biggest thing that I have been coming across is the use of the virtual PC cursor with JAWS and the invisible cursor. Now, if you run into a lot of applications, especially things like Microsoft
YouTube?
Teams, I don't know.
Oh, Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, Microsoft Teams. Actually, YouTube's a good example too. So I'm sure everybody has probably, if they're JAWS users on YouTube, if you tab through when the video's playing, you're listening to next N, pause, P, and so forth, right? And then you actually go to do it and you press N and JAWS is looking for an article. You press P and I forgot what it's looking for there. It's just not doing
Paragraph.
That's what it is, huh?
Yeah.
There you go. So if you actually want to use the controls and use those shortcuts, you can turn off your PC cursor. So insert Z is in Zulu. One time it'll say PC cursor off. And that's a toggle. So you do it once to turn it off, to do it again to turn it back on. But when it's off on the internet, then you can actually allow those keystrokes to pass through without JAWS grabbing them first. And you can press P for pause and so forth.
And Microsoft Teams has a similar set
It has
of
the
commands?
exact same thing. So if anybody here is a Microsoft Teams user and they set up meetings, you cannot actually get to the admit button or the invite button with the PC cursor not active. JAWS skips over it. So what you do is you do insert Z, it'll say PC cursor on. Well, depending on your verbosity level, it'll give you different, it'll just say on or off.
Yeah.
But you can use your up and down arrows instead of having to tap through the whole application, and use everything like B for button and all that stuff. And you can look for it'll actually show you your admit button, your invite button, all that stuff. You have full access to everything there. Or even like when you're logging in for the first time in Microsoft Teams. I know in March, Microsoft pretty much broke the whole application and they signed everybody out. And when we went to go sign all back in, it said there's an error, sign back out. But if your PC cursor is off, JAWS won't read it. It just won't read it. My fix for that at the time was just use narrator, but then I thought, well, let's try doing the PC cursor, turn it on. And that actually works. You can, if you're stuck at a screen where you don't know what's going on Microsoft Teams, all of a sudden it's blank, just do the insert Z once and try to move your arrows around. You'll usually be able to read whatever error message is up there and you can log out or what have you.
Wow. And so, and then the invisible cursor, explain what it is and what you would use it for.
The invisible cursor is basically an upgraded JAWS cursor. Now, the reason, from what I understand, what Freedom Scientific told me was the reason they had to come up with it in JAWS 19 was because the coding for the JAWS cursors is irrelevant now. More and more applications are switching away to a different coding. I can't remember off the top of my head what they called it, but it basically doesn't let the JAWS cursor navigate and read back the information it's supposed to read back, which is where the invisible cursor comes in. Is it's able to move around, but not actually move any of the cursors. It's like moving a secondary mouse. And it can actually read back to you like little picture windows is what I call them. I don't know the exact term, but they're windows that pop up, but they're not actual windows. Like when you have, I don't know if anybody works with Salesforce at all, but like when you're adding a new profile in there, you get asked if you want to assign a profile to a program, and that little window is sometimes it's not actually a full-blown window. It's just a little side picture, and the invisible cursor actually allows you to go in there and say no or add programs or whatever.
What's the laptop or the desktop keyboard to turn on the invisible cursor?
You strike the dash, the minus on the numpad twice quickly.
And
with
then
your
to
numlock
go
off.
back to your regular PC cursor is the
Strike the plus.
strike the plus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Do you guys have questions?
This is Muhammad. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
This individual, this young man right here, is stacked and packed with information, which is beautiful. And with his experience, he has so much knowledge, and that's how you get the knowledge. You are an incredible human being, and I just want to continue to listen to you. In fact, put you on my Victor, which I do with my now computer instructor Nick, who invited me to this event right here. So I want to thank you for sharing all the information you did, brother, because you're hitting it out the park, man. I appreciate you. I'm a slow ski when it comes to that, but I appreciate everything you said and done. And I want to say hello to everybody that's there. I met everybody there, I believe, and I just appreciate being online with you guys.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Yes.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm Ron.
Yeah, Ron.
Hey, you know what? I was just gonna listen, but man, this cat right here talking. I went to Earl Baum back in 2004, but only a couple of. So I might have got a chance to meet you. I went blind in 2004, and I'm not sure if you were at Earl Baum then, but I only went a few times, and I lived in Fairfield at the time. So I just
Eli would have been a child then.
Yeah.
I got hurt in Sonoma County. Actually, there goes my house phone. Actually, in the town of Sonoma, I had an accident at work and went blind there. And yeah, so not just that, man, but I was an avid fisherman before I went blind and after I went blind. I've been out deep sea fishing since I've been blind. I went to OCB back in like 06, and we went on a field trip. We got to suggest field trips, and I suggested we go out deep sea fishing. So there was some instructors and a bunch of us blind cats out there on the deep sea fishing boat. And I'll tell you what, I recognized less people getting seasick that were blind than I ever did going out on the party boat with people with eyesight. I don't know if the sight had something to do with it or not, but I'd never gotten seasick before I went blind, and I was wondering if I would after, and I didn't. And I like catching big fish. In fact, there was a bait store in Sassoon that had my picture on it, and I was holding up a 5 foot 8 inch sturgeon, and it said, "Who said blind men can't fish?" So
okay, you need a T-shirt with that.
I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate that encouragement that I got from hearing you today, man. And I'm hoping I get to meet you one day. Thanks. I'm gonna cut out and listen.
All right, thank you. 5 foot 8 inch sturgeon. That's a big one right there.
I think we have a partnership with Earl Baum Center.
Oh,
yeah.
You do.
Society has a partnership with them.
I've seen Paul and Randy before when I used to work there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Small world,
questions?
huh?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Kyan. I have a few questions.
I knew you would.
I knew he would have a few. We were waiting. As soon as you said contractor and framing and drywall, I was like, oh yeah, we're saying.
Yeah,
Fishing
that's
fishing.
probably one of my number one hobby. I was a carpenter for 20 years, and before that I worked with my dad like every day after school and every weekend pretty much as a kid even. So I've kind of been in love with contracting for a long time.
It's okay.
All right.
And fishing is like huge relaxation thing for me. Like I love fishing. I actually made a note today in notes to try to start a group to connect fishermen with blind people so I can get more access to the coast.
Yeah, man. That's a good idea.
But I haven't been fishing really since I've been blind.
Oh.
I'm like, I didn't pay enough attention to knot tying beforehand. So I'm really at a loss there. And as far as like, I live in Sacramento, so there's a lot of river fishing. And
That's right.
always
salmon
thought
over there.
Like, but I always thought it was like a lot of eyesight. You know, you're kind of trying to spot dark areas and weeds and structure and stuff like that to pick the fish out. Like, how do you do that without seeing?
It's more like gotta understand what it is that you're throwing, right? What you're after. So if you're after bass, if you're after salmon, what have you. But to talk about the structure part, you got to lose lures, man. You got to be prepared for that because you're gonna throw your lure in, and you're gonna let it sink. You got to get an idea as to what's down there, and you're gonna let it sink.
Yeah,
and just hold on to that rod. You got to get a decent rod so you can feel it in there. You can learn this from a guy that's got full vision, but he always said, like, you know what? Because he fishes little salmon, which is pretty much class 5 whitewater there. And even if you wanted to, you can't see what's underneath because of all the ripples and bubbles. And he taught me, you gotta throw in and just feel the rod. The rod will tell you everything you need to know. And you can feel the weeds, you can feel the bottom, you can feel the sand, or if it's a hard shelf, if it's all mud. And also pay attention when you bring it up, see if you got weeds on it, see if you got clams on there, if you got if it's fully clean but it feels like there's scratches on it, or if it's just covered in mud, that'll give you an idea as to what's going on in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot more feel.
Oh yeah.
So maybe
100%.
fish with just the bare weight for a second to feel the bottom out, feel your area.
And
fish.
I've done that. Yeah, I've definitely I'll down a 1 ounce weight onto a small rod with some light line. So if I bust it off, I don't have to really force against it, right? And I'll just go for the hard cast if I can, and if I right, and I'll just see how much water I can cover and let it sink to the bottom and just get an idea as to what's going on. And if I come up with weeds around the line, cool. I know I can kind of gauge how far I can let it go down before I get fully tangled up.
I got you.
Yeah.
Awesome. So there's no real like extra tech that you use for fishing. It's all the same.
The best thing I can offer for tech and fishing is a pair of tweezers. And
I always carry nail clippers.
That's right. But the tweezers are helpful for when you're doing swim baits, because swim baits have that little eye you got to pass your line through. And I use braided line, so it doesn't stay stiff when you try to feed it through. And if there's wind, combination with the wind and the loose line and the lack of vision, it is a production to get that thing to cooperate with you to go through that eye. So I get these little small tweezers, I'll force them through the eye on the other end, I'll clamp the line with it and just pull them back through. And I'm 100% of the time, you can get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I bet you use that little knife too.
Oh, all the time. All the time. All the time.
Cayenne, do you have more questions?
I probably will tomorrow. My brain is a little buzzing right now for just possibilities. It's amazing. Like, you're talking about all the stuff that I've been interested in all my life, and I was sighted for 43 years. I could tell you what changes on the ground across the street. And then I lost it suddenly about a year ago. And I've been slowly trying to get back all the interests that I had before and be able to do them. It's kind of nice to hear that it's possible.
Yeah. It's that's a hard one. You know, that's a long time one way, and you switch to another way, right? Of living. But just because it's a different way of living, you don't have to switch patterns up. You just got to figure out how to get that going again. Yeah, right. Something new.
Yeah, and then also like hearing that, you know, like the stuff that I did, you know, people that are blind actually do.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, I don't know, like it makes my dreams feel a little closer even.
There you go. You want to talk to a blind carpenter, you got the wrong one with me. I just catch fish and mess around with cars, but you know, if you ever get a chance to run into a guy named George Wartzel, he's good
he
Lord.
Spoke to us. He spoke to us last year.
I met him years ago.
We know George.
Ago I met him. Yeah.
We know George.
Yeah, I think everybody at this point knows him.
My thought was when you said you could see if somebody dropped change across the street and what it was. Now, when somebody drops change, you can hear what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pennies sound a lot different than the quarters.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
Yeah.
And yay for the pocket knife. I carry one everywhere I go.
I was just going to say, I have Jim and I, we got each other engraved. I know this is so cheesy. We got each other engraved Swiss Army knives. And so his is a bigger honking one, like the dude's one. And mine is this little one that's purse size. And so my husband, who's also blind, has two essential things that he carries, and it's his pocket knife and a mini set of channel locks. And he goes nowhere without those two things in his pocket at all times.
What's the purpose for the channel locks?
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, it seems 9 times out of 10 somebody needs a mini set of channel locks. They've come in handy so many times, it's not even funny.
What is a channel lock?
Thank you. I was going to ask the same question.
What is the channel lock?
It adjusts so you can get a good bite on a nut or a screw or whatever, and it's just a small pair.
Pliers. They're lockable pliers.
Yeah, lockable pliers.
Like vice grips.
Yep, just that.
Kind
exactly.
of, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a small pair you can fit in your pocket.
Yeah.
I always
use them all the time. Yeah.
The other thing is they have everything on it. It has pliers, a knife, a wire cutters, a screwdriver. I've saved day every time on that one. You know, for those of you that are new at blindness, if you think about it, most things in the world are tactile. Just because we use our eyes when we can see for most things doesn't mean that it isn't tactile. There's a few things that aren't, but most things are.
Yeah. Even cooking, cooking is looked at as like a super visual experience.
Oh, you can't cook with your eyes. It's actually
super tactile. You can't cook with your eyes. Yeah, you cannot cook with your eyes. Everybody thinks you can, but if you just use your vision to cook, it's not going to work.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can stand
and
look
there's
at
a lot of things
day.
you do non-visually that you don't even realize you're doing non-visually until you kind of stop and think about it.
Yeah.
If I can chime in for a second.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
When I was at the Society for the Blind, this is Muhammad here, and I learned from Brandy that you definitely don't even think about cooking with your eyes. You have to tactile everything. And that's what makes it so beautiful. So I just want to say that I learned a lot there with her and helped me learn how to cook. And I'm doing good with it right now. So yeah, you got to tactile everything. And it's really beautiful when you learn how to do that, whether you're baking cookies or you're cooking, baking salmon or chicken. And then all of a sudden, because my wife, she's the master cooker and she lets me be in the kitchen. And so she just kind of stand over and see what I'm doing. And she says, that lady Brandy did you well, because now I have to worry about it too much. It's a blessing. It's a blessing, man. So I just had to say that. Yeah.
Don't forget about your nose, though.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. It's all tied in together. Yes.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you can stand at stand and stare at a lot of things, and they'll never get done if you don't touch them.
That's right.
Oh, she's deep.
Oh man, I love that.
She's
awesome. I want an apron that says that.
I'm spray painting that along the back of my truck.
I've been staring at it for an hour. It's not doing anything.
Right.
Try to buy things, organize yourself. They don't organize themselves when you buy all the baskets and do that.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Totally.
Yeah, man.
Totally funny.
Your nose, you like you said, your nose will let you know if it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Man.
The nose will let you know if the butter is brown. And
that's right.
You want to put this? Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Any other questions?
I just I had not really a question, but I thought it's really cool that there is Braille for music and Braille for math. You said MIDI.
Nemeth.
Mehmet. Yeah. I would I would like to learn all that stuff. I learned the guitar. I used to rip off the pages out of the book and had to tape it to my guitar so I could look close enough down at it. That's how I figured out how to like kind of read music. But if I didn't have to do that, I could learn pretty fast how to read music and stuff. It's pretty cool. And the math thing is, that's just interesting. I wonder what they're using for like with the different symbols and all that, like logarithm symbols and pi and all that.
Oh yeah, LOG, the plus sign, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The angles, if you ever start working with angles and Nemeth, that's where stuff can get crazy. Because if you know grade 2, it can really throw you off because all of your grade 2 symbols, so ED, TH, all that stuff, they actually become math symbols. So it's it really makes your brain work when you're reading, like, in a sentence, like, okay, so you have a triangle with this angle, and this angle, but you have the sentence, right? The triangle of this and this, but you also got to determine what parts of this is grade 2 or grade 1 and what parts of this is math, is Nemeth.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I always called Braille Alzheimer's prevention, but you've taken it to a new level.
I had to force my way through most of my math classes. I got it done though.
Yeah, I originally went to school to be a marine biologist and quickly found out I don't have the patience for it, but that required me to get super high up in math. There's also chemistry, right? I did chemistry. I did a high chemistry, which is also utilizing Nemeth, but in a different format because it's oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name of it, but basically chemistry Braille. So when you start merging all that together, right, grade 2 with your instructional, your math portion of Nemeth, and then your chemistry portion of it, it can throw you for a run, man.
Yeah, the chemistry is something that I always wanted to get into too, but I was never able to. I never thought I could, but I'm gonna look. Yeah, that sounds very interesting. I forced my way through algebra and geometry and all the calculus, all that stuff that they wanted me to. I couldn't even see the board.
Yeah,
but I could imagine if I had the Braille notes. I mean, it just seems like. And I could probably go further. I wanted to take a statistics class too. Yeah. So maybe, with that.
Just so y'all know, there is a marine biologist professor. Is it Berkeley or Davis, Brandy? Jared Vermey? That's a blind marine biologist. Which
Davis, I think.
Davis. Yeah, I think Davis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know of 2 of them. I know of 2 of them in New Jersey. It can be done. It's just not by me.
Right.
Yeah. Eli, what's on your bucket list? What do you got left to do?
I want to take a oh my gosh, this is gonna sound ridiculous. I just came up with this the other day. I want to take a dually 4-wheel drive 1970 Ford pickup, swap a diesel inline 6 into it, and take it down to Minnesota to do those ice races they do over there.
Oh, how fun!
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a blast.
Yeah, man. I know there's never been any trucks to run that stuff. Ones that have won, but I'm sure. Oh, we'll see if we can try.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's gonna be the day where, like, you know what? There's too much money around here. Let's spend it all. Yeah.
Too funny.
Yeah.
Too funny.
That, and I want to go to Alaska to catch me some big halibut salmon, but that seems more
Real
obtainable.
halibut.
Yeah, that seems more obtainable than my first mention.
I thought you were gonna say like jump out of a plane, parachuting.
Oh, I've done that.
Oh, never. Oh, dang, never mind.
Yeah. I went to Lodi Skydiving Center and jumped out at 15,500 feet.
Woo! I've drove by Lodi Skydive Center.
Yeah, there you go.
My husband jumped out of there. I have a lovely videotape of him.
Yeah, I got mine's up on YouTube.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I am not that daring.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was a good one. I liked it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for today.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Eli, for sharing.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And thank you, everybody, for joining. And we'll do it all again tomorrow.